Okay, continuing on with the texture that I scanned, I managed to bake it out through Marmoset Toolbag. All I did was I imported the mesh into ZBrush, I added the texture to it, things like that. Cropped some edges away that I didn't want, and then I got like a flat plane with decent UVs on it, just like 0 to 1 space UVs, so they take up the full area. And I put the plane just hovering through the mesh. Now the mesh was sitting kind of diagonal. The photoscan software doesn't know what the mesh should be in terms of uprightness or the direction or anything. So I just hovered a plane with 0 to 1 UVs through it, and then took in a tool bag and baked the textures at 8K. Baked a height map, baked a normal map, and the albedo map here, and I've reduced these down to 4K, so they look pretty good as textures. I also made this little mask map by baking without any edge padding, then doing a little bit of blur and sort of noise at the edge here, and this is going to work as a mask. So I'm going to bring this into Unreal Engine. I'm going to put it in one of my projects and see how it all looks. Now this is a little map I've been working on. It has a lot of decals and things in here, some meshes that I made in ZBrush just to catch some decals and break up some of the flatness. So a lot of these decals are from Quixel Mixer, and I've got a few little material tricks here that mix them up. So for example, this one, if I look at the master, this actually takes RGB values out of texture, so you can mix up like 3 different textures and kind of play with the offset of the UVs, and then make new colors for each channel, and also the opacity, and it basically does a little kind of edge fading as well and things like that, and mixes all that together inside the shader. So something like this one, this decal mixer one, you can see if I was to offset, maybe this isn't a really good one to use to show. I think it's hitting the top, maybe that's why. You can see the area that's covering. There we go, so it's way up there, and you can change the offset, different offsets for each channel, and then you can play with the colors and things. You also fade the top out, fade the edges, and fade the bottom, and that just helps to get rid of any artifacting from decals that you sometimes get that project onto the ground and things. You can change all these colors as well, so if you wanted like red, whatever you want in there, slimy looking greens and things. Each color also has an effect amount, so you can have it all showing or a little bit or not. So that's all done in that shader, and it's just like using red, green and blue. So if you have a look at the texture, it mixes up each channel. So that's alpha, there's the blue channel, green channel, and you can see these are Quixel Mixer streaks, I forget what you call them, but basically they're kind of dirt maps. I've set up the scanned texture so that it will work as a decal inside Unreal Engine. So I've set up this shader here. I'll show you the graph. I've got a bunch of stuff that does some edge fading. I'll kind of talk through that in a second, but I've got tint affecting the albedo, which is the scanned color, and that just goes into the base color. I've got an opacity, which is the mask that I created just from a non-padded bake of the texture. And I've got the normal map here, and you can kind of overdrive that. I use this little lerp node. If you put 001 as your base and your normal map as your B, then you can drive this up past 1. I've given it a maximum of 4 just to boost the normal map. So there's separate controls for metalness, specularity, and roughness, so it doesn't have a separate texture like you would expect, but that can be swapped out for a texture, multiply them, the results with these or whatever. The way I've done the blending up here is I've taken texture coordinate purely for getting like a gradient from it. So I've taken the red channel, which kind of goes left to right, and the green channel goes up and down. There's the red channel. Sorry, there's the green channel, but looking red. Don't let that confuse you. And I've just done this little distance thing to get some banding here. Then I do some lerp driving here to get different values and different ranges, and basically the result of that is what I multiply to get some edge fading and stuff, and I multiply that with the final opacity, and there's some opacity power and amounts here as well based on the mask. So let me just jump back to that decal. So if I press G, I can see the little decal icons here. Now I've made this box kind of big so that I can fade it. I can fade it out, fade it in, and if I go to the actual material instance here, you can see my textures. Now initially I did try to add a parallax occlusion map, but it doesn't work correctly unless it's on the ground, like here. So something to do with making a blueprint up, and the tangents don't get calculated with decals, maybe because they're deferred or whatever. But hopefully Unreal will make an update to that. I can't be bothered setting up the blueprint for it because it looks a bit fiddly. But here you go, I can at least increase the normal map, and I can play with the opacity power, the opacity amount, and then if I do the fading here, I can fade the bottom, fade the edges, and I can fade the top. Somewhat, maybe because bottom's negative. There we go. And there's the metalness, makes it darker. Roughness, so I can make it kind of shiny. Boost the specularity up to see that. So that looks pretty nice. Doesn't have the best, the opacity fading at the edges. That's why I added this effect here. Let's put that roughness back up. Let's see if I make this really big. Now I can kind of just stretch it and then push it back. That'll fade it into the wall a bit. Or you can play with the angle to get a kind of fading effect. I'm going to straighten it up so that that line matches the grout line of the tiles, which will make it tie in a bit better. That's a bit right. And I can move it over here. And that looks alright. So I'm going to take the same decal and bring it over here into my room with all the other stuff. Let's just put the angle snapping back on. And let's see how it looks on this wall. Okay, so you see if I start to play with the scale, I can cover more area. Move it up and move it out a bit. Because this is a curved wall, it's a little bit trickier to set up. Something like that. And if I was to bring a light in here, point light. You see that looks pretty cool. Let me just increase the range and intensity. So I can also bring that decal forward more. If I can manage to select it, I think it's this one. Nope. This one, okay. I can change the sort order so that it's in front. Play with the screen fade as well. And see how that looks through here. That's per decal, so that's useful. So I can choose this one and do same sort of thing, screen fade. It's very similar to just having opacity, but you see it fades away as well, like that. So I'm just going to put that back. And through here, yeah, you can see it's projecting onto this wall as well, so I need to move it away. It will project on bits like that, so I'll make it a bit smaller. Okay, put the priority back down so it's behind. Make it big again, but I'll play with the fading on the material itself so that we don't get these lines. I'll change that fade back to 0. I don't really care about that. Let's just have a look at the material again. So I brought in the color, I brought in the opacity, which I made. You can even go back and, make it even more kind of randomized here. Let's just try that. I've also made it a lower texture size. So this is only a 1K, but that's fine. So something like that. And then bits here. Take a copy of it and do blur. Gaussian blur. Blur up a good bit, and then use filter, gallery, and usually do a bit of spatter with it. And then you can also add another layer and do render clouds. Oops, make sure you got black and white. And I think you can choose one of these. Yeah, that one kind of affects the edges. So overlay, yeah, and then you can play with the levels of that just to get a bit of variation in the edges. Yeah, that's a bit more organic. Merge visible, and I'll save this as mask 2, or yeah, mask 2. I'm going to import that one. and then pop that there instead. And then I can play with the opacity amount and also the power. That just fades the edge a bit. I can bring this fade edges up even more. And then if I need to fade the bottom just a bit so it's not everywhere. And that's me got another decal. Let's make a copy of it and let's just save this. I'll reset the rotation and put the angle snap back on, back up to 90, and I'm just going to move it over here to this wall. Let's see how it looks. Let's reset the scale as well. And at this point I can look at the material and make a copy of it, and then I'll apply this one. Okay, and then I can make new tweaks to that. So fade bottom I don't want as much. Is it bottom or top? Let's just reset these. I think it's upside down. Okay, so let's say I kind of want these two drains in. I can fade. I think it might be a bit backwards here. Fade the edges or not. I think fade top isn't working quite as I intend, so I need to refine that a little bit. Something like that works quite nice. I can tint it so it's a little bit darker. Maybe a bit like that, and then I can play with the opacity amount. In the shader I've got temporal AA in there, but I don't think I need it, so I'm just going to go and check that out. Yeah, I'm just going to put that straight into opacity. Okay. It's asking me if I want to rebuild the lights, but I'm fine. I don't think I've moved anything. Right, and then I can increase the, in fact that is quite big. Let's just decrease the size a bit, bring that down there. Yeah, and if I want to fade the top, my trick is just to sort of bend it like that, and then, you know, I can get something to that effect where it just shows the bottom part. But I quite like seeing the full thing again. Let's just undo that. Yeah, bring that down to there. Even lower actually. Scale it back up again. Just need to watch when it touches the water. It actually gets projected onto it, so I'm just going to make it brighter again. And I can play with that normal map power. It's already pretty high. Okay, and then what I like to do is increase the screen percentage to get that really kind of nice detailed look, and then full screen. And that looks pretty cool. So it's here, it's there, and it's through here. I just thought of something else before I completely leave you guys. Is a little trick that I'm thinking of is to make this mask match some features of the texture, and like similar to like how I did an RGB mask trick to change bits of a texture, like the drip streaks that you saw earlier in the video. I could take this texture and make it match certain features here and channel that into red, green, blue. So I'm going to like do that now. So what I'm going to do is paint over a certain area with red that I like so this area. And it's got to be solid red, including the little edges and cracks would be good, like this kind of area, right? I guess I'm being a little hasty here, but you get the idea. Just get a little bit of those cracks as well. I've added the green channel to this bit, and then whatever else I want to keep. So I'm going to do like a blue channel in this dark area. So what I'll do is I'll just take this, copy it, oops, copy it, paste it, I'll invert it, levels adjust it, okay, and then let's just take the color out of that, more levels adjusting. Right, until it's something like this. Get rid of some of this information here. Oops. Okay, and then it's going to be blue, so colorize this, and then make this completely blue. You can check the channels of that actually. If I hide all of the layers, I can just check nothing in red, nothing in green, and blue channel is what I want. Okay, so we get red channel, green blue channel, and then the green channel I can choose another part. So maybe I want like this area, or all this kind of plastery stuff. But yeah, I think this is all that I need. I'll do this really quick. Okay, so if I wanted an area like that, I can fill this with green. Do a blur on it. A bit like that. And then if I make a layer above and fill it with black, bring these back on and change them all to add. Right, that way I'm getting these three channels. I'm going to merge these together, and then image size, go back down to 1024, and I'm going to save this as mask RGB. Right, I'm just going to undo that, so I've got this mask separate. And then if I go into our project here, and what I want to do is take the mask itself. So it's this one. So initially it will be all three, right? So I'll save that. In fact, I'm going to be adding. So if I do an add, whatever's in red with whatever's in blue, green, add them up with whatever's in blue. But maybe I want to have control of these, so I can say red channel power or amount, works amount, okay. Default will be 1, maximum will be 1. Maybe I can go more than 1, I'll say 2, right? Okay, just in case I need to push it a little bit more. It's going to be the green channel. Oops. And the blue channel. I could use an alpha channel too if I wanted, but this is enough for this one. So I'm going to do multiplies for each of these. Green, and blue. Everything's 1 by default, so it should act as normal until otherwise. So I'll apply that. One thing I like to do is just make sure that I've got a little header to these, because Unreal likes to organize things alphabetically and not by order of creation. So opacity masking, and now if I go back to this guy and import the RGB texture, I can use this instead. You can see red, green and blue all set to 1. In fact, what I will do is in the green channel is have the original one. So let's see, open up this guy, and yeah, I'm just going to paste that into this group as the green channel. So I'll just get my channels here and green, pop that. Yeah, that's the wrong size. Let's just go to that, image size 4096, copy it, channels, green channel, did I copy it? Should be in that layer. I'll just paste it here and then colorize it. Or even easier, cut that out, make a solid color green. Go into the mask and paste it in there. Get rid of that one, change this to add, and that means like you're seeing everything. I'll just play with the levels of this a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to merge that group. image size 1024 and save that. Okay, and then re-import. Yep. So now I got control of each of these channels, how much of this channel gets through, how much of the red channel gets through. But if I turn off the fading, you'll see that better. So all the fading's gone, and I'm just going to choose that, move it up a bit. But I'll rotate it so that we can see the bottom again. So let's just say minus 270, 0, 188. Right. That way I've got this kind of grain thing at the bottom. And that's what I wanted. So green channel is all of this, so I can have a little bit of it. This is what's that? The blue channel looks like the graffiti. So even though it's already there with the green channel, I can bring it in even more with that blue channel. And the red channel is this drain thing at the bottom. And I can also play with the final opacity amount and the power. And that's one way to get a little bit of variation out of, you know, that single decal. So each time I make a copy of the material here, then sorry, each instance that I make of the material, I can do these things. So like, I think this is this one. Yeah, so this one I can do some things. Let's see, is that, yeah, it's that one. Fade edges, the opacity amount, and the power, how rough it is. There's a lot of smooth things in front of it, that's why it looks that way, and plus there's a light here that I wouldn't normally have. This one, which I was just putting in there to show you. So if I delete that, that suddenly looks a bit more grungy now. And that. Okay, so that's the extended part to that video, and I hope you enjoyed that. And if you want a copy of the material, just get in touch or let me know if you want an extensive video on that. Thanks for watching. Bye.